All right, starting part two. Had to break that up due to budgetary restraints in the Zoom that only allows us to record hour increments at a time now. So we last left off talking about Eric Lauer in this trade. Yeah, Eric Lauer, I don't really know exactly what Eric Lauer is going to be the rest of the year. I personally don't really believe in him. I think he's just kind of like a 4 ERA kind of guy. Jury, I think, is going to be helpful, and Dylan Moore is kind of blah. I think he belongs on Dave's team. But I think pretty good return back. But I think this is one of those rare trades where I think that maybe, Eric, are we just going soft? Because I think this is another trade that I like it for both sides. I don't see a clear loser here. I think that both teams kind of got what they needed.
Yeah, Chris picks up wisdom and kind of gives the league a little bit of a rest on the wisdom talks, even though I was going after him myself. But honestly, Phil's offense gets even a little bit better. I mean, you could argue Drury right now is outperforming Wisdom as a fantasy player, right? Almost in every category, but Phil can't keep him. But Phil's also in a win now mode. Chris might be looking for a keeper. So again, makes sense for both teams.
Yeah, I think Drury's a slight upgrade over Wisdom, a little bit more flexibility. You just hope that Drury doesn't get traded, because if Drury gets traded, he could be traded into a platoon and his bats go way down, or he gets traded and he's not playing in Great American Small Park anymore. That kind of depletes his value too. But to get Eric Lauer, I mean, if you kind of wash that, to get Eric Lauer for Helsley, his third closer, I think it worked out well for him. So I think you give Phil an A, and I think you give Chris an A as well, because I don't know what he did with Lauer. I think he was starting to lose faith in him a little bit, and I think that Patrick Wisdom is a pretty solid keeper at this point. So maybe in a week or two, he might be able to flip Helsley for another asset down the road, but we'll see. So I'll give Christopher an A as well.
All right.
I like.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, yeah, I like it. Both of them getting a makes sense.
All right, Justin, any comments?
I know your dad was hitting up quite a few people trying to get some starting pitching, so I think that definitely fits a need for him, getting Lauer and getting Helsley off his roster when he's not really using him anyway. So,
all right, we have a trade between me and Chris. Family, keep it in the family here with sliding in DMs and Burns when I PV.
Collusion.
I sent out Joe Barlow, Brandon Crawford, and Brett Martin. Got back Liam Hendricks. Barlow, $5 non-closer right now. Maybe at some point in the future, maybe regains the job back. Brandon Crawford, $1 hasn't really performed up to his what he did last year, not performing well. And Brett Martin, who is currently the closer for Texas, maybe not for a whole lot longer after the way he's pitched the last week or so. All for a $17 Liam Hendricks, who's going to be $22 next year. So a difficult decision there. Probably not going to keep him at 22. So kind of getting a couple potential assets for likely non-keeper in Liam Hendricks there. Eric, what'd you make of this one?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's kind of weird how these are all making sense, but that's exactly it. I don't know if Hendricks is a keeper at that price next year. Chris is still kind of maybe looking towards next year, so he kind of sees that same thing happening. You've kind of got a pretty good closer for the next 2.5 months, regardless, but Chris could have some valuable assets moving forward. Not a huge Crawford fan. Barlow's hurt. We'll see if he gets the closer role, so it's tough, but Chris is kind of able to get both and make that choice at the end of the season, while Hendricks probably not a keeper at that price. But again, I say B+ for both teams. Could be no keepers in this trade, could be a few.
Mm-hmm. Chris, what do you have to say?
Again, that was just going back to that other trade too. I had 5 phones going at once, so I needed to figure out if I'm losing a closer, I need to get a closer in return. So I hedged my bet. I know you and I did a little bit of negotiation on which closers I was going to get, and I settled for the 2 Texas ones because I didn't want to take a chance with any of either or not getting the closer job. And who knows, maybe both of them don't even get the closer job now.
With the way Martin's pitching, maybe Barlow's going to have the job back before we know it.
Yeah, and even too, like I have one other closer that's been on the IL, Danny Jimenez, but that's Oakland. So who knows what Oakland is, but just trying to keep my options open. Might just platoon all my closers, play the matchups the remainder of the season. And I had Crawford last year. Crawford was like he was one of the C contracts that I picked up, and it was just like the depth piece that I needed to get me over the top and win Roto. So that's why I liked him. Hopefully he comes back soon and at least starts performing a little bit.
His 24 homers, 90 RBIs, and 373 on base percentage with 11
Anomaly.
steals certainly was enough to put you over the top, just barely ahead of me for a $500 Roto prize. So kind of is a special place in your heart, huh?
Yeah, I'm a big name guy. I like names.
So Chris, the people demand a statement. You made a myriad of moves, several players going out. You've acquired A contracts, you've acquired C contracts. Where's your head at for this year? Where's your head at for next year? What's going on with the sliding into the DMs? What should we expect from you over the next couple of weeks?
I'm just waiting for the bottom of the roller coaster, man. Like, just where's my upswing?
Yeah.
When are my hitters going to start hitting?
When is the hope of a playoff berth?
When is Vlad going to start hitting again? When is Bo Bichette going to get his on-base percentage up? Springer's looking good. And just like, my pitching staff has been completely just demoralized. Baylor, Peralta, it's just been like I treading water as much as I can and trying to keep my head above it at some point. So honestly, like if I like where my team is at and I like the players yeah, shut up. I'm gonna I am so over you jinxing me. No, I like where my team is at, and like if they come to form next year, like I do have 13, 14 keepers that I could see keeping and, like just getting there. But right now it's just like, when is it going to end? Like, when am I going to actually like start winning? Like I checked I think the last 2 weeks, I've only had 4 home runs, and it's like, what the hell? Yeah. So like, where is it all coming from? That was
4 home runs.
Yeah, and that's when I had Drury. That's when I had Rowdy, and it's just like, God, like I get rid of these guys, and they sure enough just turn it on. So there's got to be something going on in this Milwaukee household right now.
Yeah. For myself, I think Christopher gets a B for this one, just because I think that he if he's not keeping Hendricks at 22, I think that he may be, I don't know if Barlow or Crawford end up being kept next year. I mean, they kind of have, things need to happen. I mean, Crawford needs to play better and Barlow needs to get the job back in order for them to be kept. So to not get a surefire keeper back for Hendricks could be a woe that hurts him in the future. And for myself, I mean, I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer. I'd have to give myself an A, not to pat myself on the back too much, but I mean, to trade a few guys that weren't really going to go on my lineup in Crawford, Barlow, and Brett Martin, for a surefire closer and Hendricks, who has a pretty secure hold of the job, knock on wood. It's kind of a no-brainer. Eric, grades?
Yeah, I concur. I mean, you got your closer that you wanted, can kind of do the 2 closer approach, and Chris maybe got a couple keepers in it, so again, makes sense for both.
And then the most recent trade, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say too, that the one thing I was willing to like get rid of Hendricks for is because he's been kind of up and down too, as the Sox have been this entire season. But like he'll get you a good couple weeks and get a couple saves, but then he'll blow one and just 81 ERA, and it's just like, oh man, it's volatile.
I can live with that because I know that the Sox aren't going to trade for anybody that's going to take his job. And I know that they're not going to like trade him, and they're not going to just punt this year. They're all in for this year. So I know that he will be the closer barring injury for the rest of the year.
Volatility stat wise, but he's secure in his role.
All right. And then the last trade we have, which happened earlier today, which is Paul Sewald for Josh Rojas. This one, I guess a little bit of a head scratcher. Probably might get my worst grade of the day, because Eric sent out his boy, Josh Rojas, who he loves for his positional versatility and how he just pads all the stats and all the categories. And he got back middle relief pitcher, Paul Sewald, who appeared in the 8th inning in the last 2 games. And I think he played today and pitched in like the 7th or 8th inning and gave up some more runs today. So I don't really know what he's expecting out of Paul Sewald. Maybe he's going to pitch in a few saves in the Seattle bullpen with random saves here and there, but not a guy you can even have in your lineup at this point. Eric, what were you thinking?
Well, Rojas really isn't going to see my lineup the rest of the year. Again, barring a couple injuries, could happen. But I'm starting to get a lot of reinforcements. I really like my bench. Segura comes back soon. Chris Taylor comes back pretty soon within the next couple weeks. So Rojas really isn't seeing my lineup. Could he be a keeper at $4? Yeah. But he's really a 2-category contributor right now in stolen bases and on base percentage. And if I can get Seawald, if Seawald's ERA and WHIP are amazing, and he's averaging more than a K an inning. So the fact that the closer job, I don't necessarily think is completely closed. So if he becomes a closer at any point over these next couple months, it can help me a lot. Kind of a low risk, high reward move for me.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Eric, I'm still going to give you a C-, and I'm also going to give Chad a C- because Josh Rojas sucks. Josh Rojas is not a serviceable player. I don't think he should be in any fantasy lineup. He's actively hurting you in runs, RBIs, and home runs. He's helping you a little bit on base percentage, but at what cost? And I guess the 11 stolen bases helps, but also 3 of those came in the same day for whatever reason. And it's also his career highs. I mean, he hasn't had a long, illustrious career or anything, but I mean, we weren't really expecting him to be a 30 stolen base guy or anything like that. So I think that like he's more of a 15 stolen base guy. So really just like 1.5 category contributor. So I don't really like Josh Rojas. I've made my disdain of Josh Rojas pretty clear throughout the year. All right. Any last words on transactions before we move into our power rankings from anyone? No. Okay. We're getting a lot of head shakes.
No,
All right.
I have a couple words.
Okay.
Mainly a question. It's a transaction, so it fits. What should I get from McDonald's?
I just told you, spicy McChicken. Crimmy.
Yeah, we don't have that, Justin.
Well, fucking tell me the Toronto menu then, bruh.
Fucking maple syrup burger.
They serve McGriddles all day.
Chicken. That's what we've got.
Can you put Tim Hortons donuts in a burger or what?
No, I had a Krispy Kreme donut burger once, though. It was fantastic.
Chicken and waffles.
Kyle, very racist, very delicious.
Canceled.
Great. The cancel culture is coming for me early. All right. So we're gonna move on to our power rankings. And as always, we have Eric and I put together our individual ranks. We morph them together and we get an aggregate rankings. Originally, we had a 3-way tie for the bottom, which is how it shook out. So I had to adjust a few things, and we came to the agreement that the single worst team in the league right now is Tyler T-Pain's roster. Eric looks at this roster, doesn't see a lot that he likes, but I disagree. So why don't you go ahead and give it your all, Eric?
Well, it's definitely not a good team
on your mind.
It's definitely not a good team right now, but like you said, he definitely has some keepers for next. I mean, this team's not making the playoffs. He's not doing anything in Roto. So, I mean, this is purely a let's look at next year perspective, and maybe there's some trade pieces here, but Alonso's a keeper. I think Profar is a keeper. Riley Green, definitely. Nimmo, I think since you acquired him, then you have Trout, right? So I think that you got decent amount there, Haniger. And then on the pitching side, Cortez, John Gray.
Stop. You have already listed more keepers than both Corey and Chad have. And you're not even done.
Yeah, well, yeah, dude, he's got 25 Roto points. This team's bad.
Yeah, but still, if you just told me that you're looking forward towards next year with these power rankings and you're putting him 14
no, I'm not.
Power rankings.
I don't know. I'm not saying I'm not necessarily. I mean, but this team's definitely the worst team in the league by bar none, right?
So his keepers his 8 contracts had nothing to do with your power ranking, but you're just looking at his team towards.
Yeah, right now, yeah, okay. Yep. So John Gray, Rasmussen. Like I said, this team has a lot of potential moving forward to next year. Very much reminds me of Chad's team heading into next year. It's going to be a lot of swing and miss in terms of if a lot of these guys pan out, because this is John Gray's best year by far, and it's not even close. Who knows if he's this type of pitcher, but a lot of potential, but also nothing going for it this year. That's kind of my take on it. And that's why he is number 14 in the power rankings. And who knows right now, Mackenzie Gore, we've gone back and forth on it, but he's kind of pitching out of the pen lately, dinged up right now. And I would still keep him at $1 though, personally, but
you are wrong. I think that Tyler's team is way better than it gets credit for, even with his 25.5 Roto rankings.
You've been thinking that all year.
Team. I still believe in it. I have it high. I had it up to 12th in the power rankings, not 14th, but I had to move him down a slot to break a tie. There's guys here that can carry offenses, and there's guys here that can perform well. I mean, Pete Alonso's got 84 RBIs. I mean, that's a better player than is on Dave's entire roster. Corey doesn't have any offensive players like this. Nolan Gorman's starting to heat up. Riley Green has all the potential in the world. Brandon Nimmo's a solid player. Seiya Suzuki, once he's gotten healthy, is solid. Guys in here that are playing well. I wouldn't want to face this lineup in the playoffs. And then you go to the pitching rotation. There's guys here that can get innings and that can pitch well. Ashby's coming around. McGill has been good in spurts. Framber Valdez has like 15 straight quality starts. John Gray pitching like a stud. Johnny Cueto, awesome, 2.8 ERA. Nestor Cortez has been an ace this year. What do you mean this is the worst team? There is no way. I think it's a glitch in the system because I look at this team and I still don't understand how it only has 25.5 roto points because I still like this team. And I'm going to take it to my grave, but this is not the worst team in the league.
Okay.
That might be the best rant in the history of this podcast.
I know he's really defending a team that's got how many roto points? 24.
It's 25.5, and I really do not understand it one bit.
Like you literally have 100 more points than him.
Wow.
almost 95 more ish. But
yeah,
I literally, like I said, I still don't understand it. There's just guys here like I like, and
I mean, he's got Quantrill, 111 innings, 71 Ks. Rasmussen, 82 innings, 70 Ks. Valdez isn't averaging a K. I mean, there's holes. Johnny Cueto, 81 innings, 58 Ks. No, not a single person in there that gets saves.
I think Framber Valdez, his ratio doesn't matter because he has 121 innings. So
remember, this is the guy that I think drafted 4 closers and now has not a single dude that has a save on his roster.
Also true. Hey, Ashby's got 1 save.
There you go.
So Tyler in our last in our rankings. I mean, you can't really argue with 25.5 roto points. He's last in head-to-head, I believe, as well. But I think the future is kind of bright. I think he needs a lot to go right. But I mean, there's a lot of promise in some of the guys that he has. Mackenzie Gore, Aaron Ashby, even Reed Detmers is starting to pitch well. 1.06 WHIP, 3.84 ERA. Framber Valdez is just chucking up quality starts like it's his motherfucking job because it is. But he does it well. Rasmussen's good, 3.1 ERA. Quantrill is meh, but I mean, Cueto's been good. He can probably get an asset for him at some point. And Nestor Cortez, again, still pitching like an ace. So, I mean, this pitching staff is going to be solid next year. I think if he's able to acquire an ace from a certain somebody, maybe in this chat right now, for next year, that I think that's the one thing he's missing, maybe a certain National League West ace. That if you go with that National League West ace, and then you go Cortez as your 2, Framber Valdez as your 3, Aaron Ashby and Mackenzie Gore or whoever else, Drew Rasmussen as your 4-5, I think that's a solid rotation. And then if you're building an offense around Nimmo and Pete Alonso and Seiya Suzuki and even Mike Trout, I don't know if he keeps Mike Trout, but I mean, there's guys that you can still build around there. So I don't think he's going to be dead in the water next year, and I still believe.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
But Tyler has not proven yet that he can be a competent fantasy baseball manager yet. So there's also that side of the coin.
Right.
So we're gonna go to our next number 13 in our power.
Yeah, the team you're hating on, man. This team's got the potential. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you also thought this team had potential last year, and look how it worked out for him.
I don't know if I said it had potential. He made a lot of moves, but this team's set up better than Tyler's is.
No, it is not. There's no chance this team is set up better than Tyler.
All right.
This team has basically nothing to build around outside Jacob deGrom.
Not true.
Jacob deGrom and Ian Happ. That's about it.
All right, I'm keeping Ian Happ at 8. Cedric Mullins is, I mean, if his power numbers tick up at all, he's getting 30 steals, probably 80 runs. If he gets the power numbers up, 20 home runs, I'm still keeping him at that price because Chad has no money. He's not spending any money except for deGrom and Mullins. I'm Santa Tanner at $1. Do you see the numbers he's putting up?
3.
Okay. I think Wander Franco.
4.
Okay. Jacob deGrom.
Yeah, I already counted him.
Oh, you counted him. Logan Webb.
Maybe.
I think
I'll give it to you.
Bednar.
If he's not traded.
Well, even if he is traded, he could still be the closer.
He wouldn't get traded into another closing job.
Okay. I forgot your Nostradamus. Javier.
7.
Glasnow.
8.
Boz. You know, who knows?
I mean, sure, but he has a 5 ERA and he's not $1, he's $9.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe
Yeah, that's
9.
right. And I'd say that's about right. Yeah, that's about right.
Okay, so he's got 9 keepers.
And I would,
Personally wouldn't keep Cedric Mullins.
oh, and low. I would keep low.
Low who?
Oh, and Varsho. Sorry, low and Varsho. I'm keeping both them.
I'm not keeping an $11 catcher with a 304 on base percentage.
I don't know. I mean, he's on pace for 20 home runs and probably 70 RBIs.
Okay.
And that's really good for a catcher right now in
For
2022.
$11?
And probably 10, 11 steals. Sure.
Who's paying $12 for a catcher? Who's paying $12 for Dalton Varsho in auction next year?
Me.
Nobody.
I don't know. I mean, I think 20 home runs, 70, 75 RBIs and 10 steals is pretty good. 70, 75 runs as well. I don't know.
I mean, Wilson Contreras went for 9, and Wilson Contreras was like the 3rd best catcher in the league. And
Lowe's a $7 player, and he's on pace for probably 25 home runs and 75 RBIs.
That's worth 7. You can't find another first baseman that hits you 22 home runs and 70 RBIs. You'd keep a guy for 7. A
Rowdy
first baseman
Tellez.
that only gets you 22 home runs and 70 RBIs. Are you kidding me?
I
Rowdy
might.
Tellez.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a losing strategy. All right, I'm going to go into my little rant here. I have a second rant plan, and here's what it is. I don't think you win this league in any league like this by keeping mediocre players with big contracts. We've seen it. Sorry, Justin, we've seen you keep Shane Bieber for 40. We've seen Abreu get kept for 30 something. We've seen Lindor be kept for 40 something. We're going to see if Mullins gets kept for 30. And seeing the teams that keep these $30 to $40 players that end up busting because they're not studs, it's not a good winning strategy. We're going to see it with Corey's team. We're going to see it with Chad's team. Although Chad didn't really have any good keepers this year because it's not really a good example. But some of these guys just keep these overpriced guys that end up busting because they don't have good track records. It's not a good winning strategy. This league is won by having good players on very cheap contracts, but by keeping the guys for $30 to $40, like the Lindors, like the Biebers, like the Abreu's, and the Josh Hader for 27, you cripple your cap room, so you can't spend money on the guys that are actually going to win you the league, and you can't fill the holes that you need because all your money's built up on guys that end up busting and guys that just aren't worth the money.
You probably have 3 of the worst contracts in the league right now.
Who's that?
Merrifield, Ozuna, and you're talking about people wasting money right now.
Yeah, but
Tatis,
I didn't keep any of those guys.
true, but Tatis also.
And I
mean,
won't keep any of those guys because that's the recipe for failure.
and your team's doing great, so you can't really like say anything.
Yeah,
but I
but
mean,
it'd be different if I had kept Merrifield for 27. I would not have kept Merrifield for 27. I would not have kept Ozuna for 18. Like Justin and I had negotiations about Ozuna in the offseason. I was like, no, I sorry. Like I like the guy, but I'm not going to keep him for 18.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of the higher price players that you were debating whether they should be kept or not in the offseason have done pretty well also. I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting heading into next year for sure, depending on who keeps who. Yeah.
JT Real Muto, how did $20 catcher work out? Keeping the most expensive catcher in the league.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's dollar catchers in the league that are playing way better than JT Real Muto, and that's $19 extra that you can spend that could have been spent on Jordan Romano or whoever else in the auction that's actually going to help you. So that's my thing on this. I don't think you win this league by spending $32 on Cedric Mullins, who you know is not going to have you like hit 60 RBIs. Maybe he's at 40 now, so maybe he'll get up to 60. But the upside.
You thought he was a steal at $32 at the draft, though.
I said he was fine. I didn't think that he was going to like blow away his value. Cedric Mullins he was a 30-30 guy last year. And if he was a 30-30 guy again, then yeah, he pays off that money.
So you don't think 30 steals and 20 home runs is worth $30?
I think sure you can do that, but if you're spending $30 on Cedric Mullins for a guy that you're going to have to make up for the RBIs somewhere else, I don't think that that's necessarily a good winning strategy.
Yeah, I suppose.
And same thing with Logan Webb. I mean, if Logan Webb keeps these numbers up, if he is a sub-3 ERA, a 1.1, whip kind of guy, strikeouts are not really great, way under a strikeout inning, only 108 strikeouts and 130 innings. I think he's like an at-value guy. But again, I don't like if those are your best 2 assets. I think that Logan Webb should be a guy that he should trade. Like it's tough to say, but like if I'm Tyler, like Tyler should offer like Ashby and a couple like his guy, Ashby, John Gray, and a couple other pitchers that he has, and trade him for Logan Webb, because I think he could use a guy like Logan Webb. And I think that Chad needs to save his money and be able to spend up for guys that are actually going to help him. And I mean, we talked about in the offseason how we just didn't go get Tatis. Inexcusable.
Yeah, I agree. He should have
so-
went after Tatis. And yep.
I just don't understand it. So I know that's my little rant, but I guess, you know, I just think that this league is won with guys that turn out to be studs on cheap contracts,
Definitely.
like Marcus Simeons, like Alejandro Kirks, and I mean, I know the guys out to like Austin Riley's and like those type of guys that we see on playoff teams.
100%.
All right, coming in at number 12 in our power rankings is Corey, which I don't know what Corey did to get all the way up to 12 in the power rankings, because I think that Corey's team is hot garbage. There's really nothing. Well, these are the instigators. This offense is putrid. This is probably one of the worst offenses I've ever seen. Granted, he didn't have a lot to work with offensively coming into the year, but this is exactly kind of my point. Is he kept Lindor for 40, almost 40, kept Abreu for 29, and he kept Hader for 23. And by keeping those guys, like, it kind of handcuffs your salary, so you couldn't really spend up for the impactful guys, the Mullinses and the Tatises and the Verlanders and all those kind of guys you can kind of roll the dice on. And so his offense was dog crap. It was dog water. So yeah, I'm just not really a big fan of what's going on here. I don't think that the keepers are even great. I don't think he's really poised. I think he's only got like 7 or 8 keepers. We can kind of count them out in a little bit. The rotation is good. I mean, I use good loosely, but I mean, if you're starting a rotation with Max Fried, Castillo, Urias, and Hader, I mean, that's still decent. It's not great. There's better rotations, and it's not very deep. And I don't think you keep Hader. But I mean, that's, I guess, the reason why he gets the slight bump is that his rotation of the last 2 teams we've talked about, this rotation is probably the best asset of the last 2 teams.
I think if you're going into next year with Castillo, Fried, and Urias, 1, 2, 3, that's probably one of the better rotations in the league.
You're lacking that big strikeout pitcher, though. If you don't have that big strikeout pitcher, then where are you going with those 3 after that?
Exactly.
True.
Fried and Urias are both under a strikeout an inning.
I mean, all of them have excellent above average whips. All of them have excellent to above average ERAs.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's not like any of them are subpar strikeouts. They're all close to a strikeout an inning. I think that's one of the best rotations. You go in there 1, 2, 3 next year. That's really nice.
Yeah, it's also not the cheapest though.
And then throwing
a lot of
McCullers.
holes to fill on offense.
True, but he's got a lot of holes to fill on offense, and he's got 2 keepers on offense, Arozarena and probably Jimenez. So he can spend all his money on offense next year. So
Rosarena for 27.
Oh, you're keeping that, dude. 30 steals, 20, 25 home runs. I mean, again,
He's
it's like,
played well this year.
yeah,
I think you do, but again, it just like it hurts. It's
it
not
does,
the
but he's
type of
got
guy.
no offense. I think he's got to, right?
But how do you? Yeah, I guess it's just like it's how do you? It's tough because like how do you get better? You know, if you're that's over $100 that we're talking about right now. If you're talking about not over 100, but between Rosarena, Castillo, Fried, and Hader, that's about $95 we're talking about just with those 4 players. He probably doesn't keep Abreu or Bregman at this point, but maybe we'll see.
No,
So,
probably not.
we're
Yeah.
already looking at under about $160, $170
Yeah.
to spend, where you basically need to retool the entire offense of yours. So it's tough.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think you keep Keibert Ruiz at 5. I don't think you keep Escobar. I don't think you keep Bregman, Noda, Abreu, Jimenez at 1. Ruff, no. Rosario, yeah, maybe.
Maybe the runs and home runs and OBP's all right.
You know,
I mean,
you
the
don't-
runs and stolen bases. I mean,
You don't keep Garcia. Maybe Connor Joe. I've liked him, but holy cow, 24 RBIs is not great. You don't keep Moncada. You say you keep Arozarena. Choi probably not, but who knows? Brandon Lau is good at 17. He'll be 22 next year, but he's also not really played that well since he got activated. And then let's see, 1, 2, probably only 3 of the pitchers. So that's only 7 keepers so far. So I think
Oh.
that, you know, for a
McCullers.
for a
Maybe.
bottom feeder, I'm not keeping McCullers at 20 who can't stay on the mound.
All
I
right.
don't think, but I also don't think he should have been kept going into this year. I think he probably should have thrown back McCullers and got him for like $3 instead. Would have probably
Yeah.
been better option there. That's the smarter thing. So I don't know. It's tough. It pains me to see like a 10th, 11th place team with only 7 keepers for next year, because you would hope that some of these guys like Abreu and Bregman could get traded for better future assets. And maybe
You have him higher in the rankings than I do.
I think it's just that rotation,
Yeah.
like I said, that the 3, even like you kind of talked about, where it's just like, okay, well, this rotation is better than the other 2 rotations. And it's, even though the
Right.
hitting's bad, it's just kind of
So
whatever.
Corey at 12.
Technically higher in the standings than the other 2
Yeah.
as well. All right, we got 8 minutes to talk about our 10th place tie, which is between Chris and Bryce. You have Chris higher. I have Bryce higher. Why don't you go first and tell me why Chris belongs higher than Bryce?
I just think Chris's ceiling is still there. There's a reason his team won the league last year, and it's not like it's a whole lot different. Vlad, it's weird to say that like these guys are having down years, because like the numbers really are there for Bo and Vlad. You can argue Bo, you could really want to see those numbers step up a little bit, but they're kind of having downish years compared to last year. But Edmund, really solid player. George Springer's finally getting into his own. Andrew Vaughn's having kind of a pretty good season. I'm excited to see what he does moving forward. So there's a lot to like about this offense. There is. It's just JD Martinez, like what's been going on with him this year? The OBP's there, but the home runs, the RBIs, kind of a lot like Nelson Cruz. Their 2 seasons are so similar.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the OBP's there, but like the player that we've known for the last 10 years isn't. But the pitching's just hurt Chris a lot. And we kind of talked about that before when he was number 1. Like, does the pitching hold? Does the pitching hold? Bueller's down, Peralta's down, Sale's down. And remember, he made that trade for Sale, which could have backfired at this point. So you look at that pitching, and it's really hard to say, but there's so much blah there. And it's at the point where it's a sinking ship in that rotation, because there's just not anything there that is going to guide him to a postseason berth at this point. And it's tough, because I think there's a lot of potential with that offense, with the Jays and the Cardinals, all those Birds players, but it's tough.
Yeah. I mean, Chris earmuffs. But it's been really tough to see, because like this team had all the potential in the world, and like literally everything came crashing down like all at once in a matter of like a week or 2. Like two months ago, this was a 4-horse race. Like there was 4 of us above 100 points in Roto, and I think Christopher's leading at one point, where we're like, okay, Christopher's is good. He's got the depth. His roster's complete. All the good things we said about it, and then it's just like everything just came completely crashing down all at once. It like, I don't know if there was a black cat that walked by him, or he was walking under ladders or what, but I mean, you talk about the injuries of the pitching staff. I mean, Chris Sale obviously got hurt. Tough. Freddie Peralta went down. Walker Buehler went down. Like those are 2 out of his 3 best pitchers. All the regression hit all of his pitchers at once. Tariq Skubal, Syndergaard, Tyone was a big one. That regression came through like all at the same time. Andrew Heaney got hurt. Danny Jimenez got hurt, and then the offense just went dormant. I mean, Rendon obviously went out for the year. Who are some of the other states? You've made a few trades, so it's hard to see who the guys are that you've had. I mean, Bo Bichette's having a down year. Guerrero's playing okay, but not up to the standards of what you'd hope for. Springer's been okay. Tommy Pham had a hot start, but hasn't really done a whole lot since. And just like guys that you look at, Edmund was another big one, where it's like Edmund had, I think, 6 home runs and all those counting stats, and then for the last 2 months hasn't really done anything. So
What could you really use right now is Logan Gilbert, which is that trade that kind of did hurt him.
yeah, so it's tough to see how everything kind of came crashing down, just really in a brutal way. But sometimes just that's baseball for you. You'd hope that it doesn't happen to everybody all at once, but here we are.
What a crazy turn. Yeah, seriously, an absolute downfall.
Chris, we are sorry.
Keep talking.
I'm apologizing. What do you want me to say?
Yeah.
I'm doing my best to empathize with you.
No, you have not. Oh my God.
What do you mean?
That is the
I really
least.
feel for you.
The least. Go back 3 podcasts, and each one it's been, oh, he's gonna go down. Oh, he's gonna go down. Oh, he's gonna go down.
Who did I say was gonna go down?
Me.
No,
You
I
put
I wouldn't put you first in my power rankings if I thought that you were going to go down and you're going to take a step back.
But no, you guys hit the nail on the head too. It all accumulated in one big, just no one did anything. And like I made the Gilbert trade because Sale was coming back. And what happens to Sale in his second start? Boom. Gets a freak ball right off the pinky. So it's like, great. That's awesome. That's one guy that I needed to get my strikeouts and my, my whip and my ERA. So now I had, and even too, like Andrew Heaney looked great in his first two starts, and then he went down. He came back, made one great start, went down again. And it's just like, okay, what can I do here? And like I said, the whole Rowdy trade, Rowdy went. He No, I picked him up. I picked him up off waivers, and then I traded him to Krim, and then sure enough, he has 2 home runs and 6 RBIs today. So it's like awesome, just great. But yeah, like you guys said, I said this earlier too. I like my team. It's just they need to start hitting. They need to start getting the stats that I needed them to get the stats in. And like, who knows? Maybe they bounce back next year and I'm right back in it. But it's like, I want to believe in these guys and I want to like keep them. But goddamn, like 10th place after being in first, like something's got to change.
Currently 17 and a half games back with 4 weeks to go is going to be an incredible mountain to climb. But if anybody can do it, it's this roster right here.
You are going to feel this pain one day and it's going to be immaculate. Like you're going to be so downtrodden on this podcast. It's can't wait.
Yeah.
Was that Bart Scott? Can't wait.
Yeah. There's no way that Fernando Tatis makes it through his rehab assignment if I keep this up. We got about a minute and a half left before we get cut off again. Eric, do you have anything else to say about Chris's squad here?
No, I mean, it's like I said, he hasn't made many trades this year until recently. He's kind of been riding the ship, and it's just been tough because it's one of those what do you do situations. So this team's got a lot going for it next year, but you got a lot of decisions to make because if you did keep Vlad, Bichette, Springer, that's a big price tag. Bueller as well, who knows? I know Bueller's been really shaky this year, so you got a lot of big contract decisions to make. So maybe it is, I know you mentioned it earlier, maybe it is sell mode soon if things don't turn around.
The one thing that I've been saying to everyone, I know I got a minute left, but I do like the value that I see in that pitching staff. Like Sale for 11, Thor for have to get up there, but like Tariq Skubal, I like where it's at, and even to like Peralta too, like that, $7 Peralta, I'll take that any day. So like I like where that's at. So can I flip some of these assets for bigger pieces and see if I can get that offense going?
Right.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break. You'll hear from our sponsors, Ticonderoga Pencils, Javon Musk, and Ford Mustangs. We'll see you on the other side.